I'm Kyle.
And our presentation today is over whether it is more cost effective or better for you to rent or buy certain products. So, jump right in. We were specifically focusing on the homes, cars, and then other like furniture and other big ticket items. So I'm going to kick it off with homes real quick. Home buying, there's two real main options. Yeah, we got a trailer park mansion here. There's buying and renting, obviously, as the presentation showed. The main way to buy a home is through a mortgage. Obviously, most people don't have $200,000 to just lay down and buy a house. So you go through a mortgage. It's a loan taken through a bank, a mortgage broker, sometimes even the person selling the house will give it to you. And they come in two different varieties, variable rate and fixed rate. And they are exactly as they sound. Variable rate, the interest rate can change. Fixed rate stays the same once you lock it in. Due to the size, it's paid obviously over a long term. Typically, it's 15 or 30 years, and these stretch out over time. And the payments, I found out, work like a lever. It was actually kind of interesting to see. So here's a little graph. And the way it works is because there's so much interest that comes on a home, and obviously the price of the home is obviously rather large itself, they try to front load the interest and spread it out over the course of your mortgage so that it's easier to pay and you keep payments consistent. So for this house, the payment stays the same every month, but the interest, like the first time you pay will be $937 of that payment, and only $111 is actually like paying off the house itself. But then as you move down, you can see that only $12 is paid for interest on the last payment, and you're paying off a big chunk of the house on the last one. So it just kind of rolls the interest over as you move through your payments. Currently in BG, I kind of did some numbers. I found a site. I was able to calculate some things. So for a 30-year fixed rate loan with 20% of the payment down on a $165,000 home with an excellent credit rating, the interest rates vary from 4.179% to 4.577%, which is, I didn't think was too bad. I mean, I don't know. I've never bought a house, but they didn't look too bad. And then versus a 15-year fixed loan with the same kind of payments and such, with a little bit different credit rating, was obviously a little lower. You're spreading that out. You're condensing the payments over a short amount of time, so obviously they're not going to force you to pay as much. The other option, of course, is renting a home. This is done through the use of a lease, as I'm sure many of us are aware, having college housing. I know I am. You get the contract through a landlord or a tenant, or you're the tenant. You get it through a renter. You make monthly payments and such. Depends, they put different things in your monthly payment. And you set it up for a time frame. I know mine's 12 months, but there's 10 months, there's 2 years, whatever. Depending on the property, there are different fees, and then the way you pay your utilities may differ between your renter. Some places include your utilities. I know mine does. I think the only thing I have to pay extra is water every 3 months and electric. But obviously sometimes you might have to go out and find cable, internet, all that good stuff on your own. And then also with this, there's certain restrictions that a lease or renting can have on you versus buying your own home, which would lead us into the pros and cons. When you buy your home, you're obviously your own landlord. There's no real restrictions on what you can do with your home once you buy it. You can, as it says, it's customizable. You can aesthetically change anything on your house. If you want to put a shed up, a fence, a pool, change the paint, whatever, that's up to you. It's your house. You can do what you want. That's one very good thing about it. Plus, too, with it being a 30-year mortgage, it's a long-term investment. You can actually, if you stay there for the remainder of your life, in the end, you might even be able to make money off that house, especially if sell it. You put enough money in the front end of it. Renting a home, sometimes it's smaller payment, that's renting a home, yeah. Pros for renting a home would be sometimes there's smaller payments. It's easier to move on the fly if you need to, especially like for us college students year to year. And there are a lot of services provided with renting. I know I don't have to cut the grass, I don't have to shovel driveways, I don't have to maintain certain things, and they'll come and fix stuff if it breaks, water heater, washer, dryer, that kind of stuff. Cons to these things, when you buy a home, obviously it's a lot more expensive. You're not investing in, you're buying a $200,000 piece of property and a home itself, so obviously it's a lot more expensive. Definitely a lot more locked in. Once you spend the money, you're kind of going to want to stay there for a long time. You're not going to want to move within 2 to 3 years. And the house itself is collateral against the bank on that loan, so as soon as you are not able to make payments, they can take that house away from you and kind of out of luck. Cons to renting a home, obviously there's outside fees, so maybe you have a pet, apartment makes you pay a fee for that, and other things like that. Less freedom, obviously you can't just go around and change the color of your walls as you want. You can't just throw a new deck in if you're renting a house, that sort of thing. And you're not as in control. The renter definitely has a lot more control over you and what you can and cannot do with that home. So with this, I sent you these links through Canvas. The first one, I thought, what Kyle actually found, it was actually really cool the way it worked. The way it works is you can put in your what you would want your monthly payment to be, how much the home is priced, how much you'd be willing to put on a down payment, the mortgage rate, and then roughly what the property taxes are. And then this graph shows you basically when buying the house itself would be the better option versus renting it. So I mean, you can adjust it. We said, I mean, if you got that clearly at, what is this? After 4 years, renting is better because you'd save $131. So you can adjust that and move along with that. The second one was kind of cool, and if you guys want to sign on to this one and try this one out, that'd be great. Because this one was a little different. It actually was more of a questionnaire and actually asked you more extended response questions that you had to put in, and then it gave you whether it was better to rent or buy. Not everyone says the price though. You got the iPads are here?
Yeah.
So yeah, if you guys want to hop on.
It's easier to read this stuff on an iPad than on your phone because it gets really small.
Yeah. Really, for sure.
So, come on over here and grab an iPad. Yeah, she did. Courtney's going to enter some, I hope.
There are a million of these calculators out there. I mean, the one had the cool graphic, but I mean, there was some that were as simple as put in your information, and this is roughly what you can afford, this is what you should do, what you shouldn't do. And I mean, a wide variety of companies had them. I know I found one for Freddie Mac that was very basic and easy. It's kind of cool to see the difference in what they're able to show you, and definitely better for you to compare multiple things when considering this decision, for sure.
Yeah, I got that.
Definitely, we picked this one out though too, because of that, those questions, we just thought they were more personable. And it was just a different way of looking at it, the way they asked them, rather than just input X dollars here, X interest rate here, and so on and so forth. So did anybody finish and willing to share what they were told? All in?
Said that I should buy.
You should buy?
Yeah.
Okay. And why is that?
Length of stay and the location. Apparently my tax implications are good. I don't know what that
And
means.
that's it now.
I got the same thing.
Yeah. Your monthly budget is good and you can afford it.
I mean, okay. And you answered that as you are now, like with your current situation? Okay. All right. Well, that's kind of interesting to find out too, especially being students. So yeah, like I said, there's a million of these calculators out there, and they're definitely useful when making this decision.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about leasing and buying cars. Here's pros and cons of buying and leasing a car. For buying a car, sometimes they require a 0 down payment. Financing can range between 4 and 6%. When you are buying a car, you tend to have to do the maintenance and stuff like that. And when you're leasing a car, the wear and tear might not be as bad because you might lease it for 2 to 4 years. And then down here is an example for if you lease for 2013 Ford Fusion, it's going to be $399 a month. Where, oh, I'm sorry, that was purchased. Where if you would lease, it would be $334. So leasing is cheaper, and then you take the car back, and then you get a new car. And then if you would purchase a car, sometimes a car won't be worth what it would be as if you would rent it. Or lease it.
Just want to check out the video here.
If you leave it on the large screen and just click on it, it should come up.
I don't think the hyperlinks are connected.
Oh, is that what it
I
is?
think.
Do you know which one it is in the bag? Okay. I switched it by.
Go to the slideshow.
It looks like it's hyperlinked. Click on it, Kyle. See it.
Just go to the next slide.
Oh.
Okay, well, I did have a video that was going to show a demonstration of buying and leasing a car and like the financial ability. And then the calculator was going to show you if you were financially set to purchase or lease a car, and then in the end it was going to show you what would be better for you financially. All right, hold on a second.
Can we use the bankrate.com and figure out a car? Could we do that?
Yeah, probably.
Why don't you use that same site that Quentin had, bankrate.com, and go to auto.
Oh, bank rate. I thought you said bank right.
No, bankrate.com. If you go to auto loan calculator, you can figure out a lot of.
Oh, they want Middle East.
And I just did a list pretty quickly, and it says that they think that I should lease the car. and it's because we considered each year your answers and weighted each base on the experience of your car experience. And then here are a list of pros and cons. Leasing a car, you have less money up front, whereas if you were going to finance a car to purchase it, you're going to put a pretty big down payment down. You're going to have a lower monthly payment if you lease. I know my parents, they lease a car rather than purchasing a car, because leasing the car, their payment was like $395, whereas if they would have purchased it, it would have been $100 more a month. Again, you're going to have less maintenance on a lease because you're only going to have it for 1 to 2 years, where if you were going to have the car, if you're going to purchase a car, you could have it up to 10 years, and you have to do a lot of maintenance for that. If you lease a car, you're going to be adapted more technology, where if you purchase a car, you're not going to have the technology there every year. You're going to have at least loyalty incentives. You're going to be eligible for dealer incentives. You're going to have no chance of negative equity, where if you would purchase a car, let's say you purchased a car for $40,000, if you would go to sell it, you're going to lose money on that. And how do you guys think that would affect society if you would lease a car rather than purchasing a car?
Or does it have an effect? Does it matter whether you personally buy it outright or lease it?
I think it's personal preference.
You know, in what way?
Like, my parents, they never lease cars, they never have. So like my stepdad, he outright buys everything. I'm on my second car now, but they bought, like, here's money. But he is a jack of all trades, so any maintenance we have to do on the car, he does it, or he knows people who does it cheaper.
Right.
As opposed to, and we travel a lot, we have a house in Tennessee, so when you lease cars, you typically have a set amount of miles, where we would go through those in like 3 or 4 months, and then we'd have to start doing something else to get around, so.
Right.
We typically drive our cars a lot more in a 2-year span than we could lease it.
Right. That's definitely a stipulation of leasing too, is that mileage cap that they will track you at. Anybody else have an opinion on that or no? Yeah?
I just know for me personally, like, I lease my car,
Yeah.
just because, having like little kids,
Right.
I just like imagine having a car for an extended amount of time, it's going to get like destroyed. So, I just like, and not to mention, a car that kind of grows with my kids, like right now, like having a car is not a problem,
Right.
but like, when I get another car in like a year and a half, I'll probably get like an SUV just
Right.
because my kids are going to be older.
Exactly.
And so I think, I think it has a lot to do with personal preference, but it also is like lifestyle.
Right.
And, I don't drive, I drive here, but otherwise I'm at home, like
Right.
I'm not working, so
Yeah.
I don't really rack up the miles like some people would.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, I can see both of those. Yeah, definitely that lifestyle choice. And like you said too, that exchange value is really important to some people on that lease. If you can keep your cars 1 to 2 years every year and keep getting the latest model every year, some people really appreciate that, especially business people. Yes.
I don't know if you saw anything about this, but can't you typically purchase a car after you lease it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leasing purchase.
It's usually, if you sign like a 4-year note, you can do the first 2 years of the lease, and then you have the option of buying, which you basically refinance the last 2 years. This is one way that they do it today.
Exactly.
Okay, and then it can be difficult to lease or own a car, so what I would do is I would talk to the loan officer. He can help you with like your budget. Financial advisor, he can see like what you can afford with the other options that you want to have, like purchasing a home with later on in life, going to college and stuff like that. And then you would talk to a professional to see who would work best with you to sell a car to you, the model and the price range and stuff like that. And then we're going to do a little thing for share here. Here's a little scenario. May and Joe's summer just got married and they need your help. May's parents gave her and Joe $45,000 to start a new life together. They need to purchase or rent the following for 12 months until they figure out where they exactly want to be. They need a home, car, health insurance plan, and furniture. Don't forget that they need other necessities, food, drinks, clothing, gas, retirement plan, money for utilities, and others. They need your help for the decision.
So we'll keep it on there, I guess. And kind of talk it over with your groups here first a little bit and see kind of what options you think they should go with maybe. Maybe search the web a little bit and see what you can find as far as renting a home, leasing a car maybe if you can real quick. Write it down a little bit. Just kind of get a rough estimate of how far they can stretch that 45 and what options they can go in with that.
All right.
Well, it's just a start.
It's probably good for beginners starting off.
But that's like just not starting.
We broke down a couple of different options.
My brother was like,
Just kind of
consignment shop.
Yeah.
So
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
We're
agree.
just sticking with the 45 right now.
And some are like really
What are your priorities?
probably a house.
This is what,
But maybe the 45.
That's what we had.
Yeah,
You're gonna rent to maybe there's
exactly.
what do you even get?
Put that down. Somebody.
I was thinking.
How much do you think they should pay?
Depends on where they're living. Rent's different.
I mean, how's that much?
But they got $45,000.
What else? I think where they live kind of depends on their other things. I mean, they could easily get a small 2-bedroom apartment and not have to pay that much. Or depending, like, if they both need a car, does only one of them need a car? Or,
Right.
other things too. I mean, if only one of you needs a car, you could probably go somewhere a little more expensive. And if they both need one for work,
Or you could buy inexpensive, on a nice car, but go for the less expensive model.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, if I gave my kids $45,000 to start their new life together, I wish I could. My parents have done that to me.
man,
I would have put it on a house. I'd have bought a house and used most of it for a down payment for a house. And figured the rest out later.
Yeah.
But my parents said to me, do you want a wedding or do you want money? And my husband and I looked at each other and we'll have a private ceremony with you guys there. No fuss, no fuss. And we'll take them. And we bought a house.
That's what my parents want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should probably yeah.
And little did we know we had kids. All that comes with that.
Yeah.
As far as like.
Certainly does cost a lot.
yeah, there's just a lot of variables with everything.
You're right.
I mean, are you both somewhere where you can settle down and both have a job or not?
Right. So if they're only going for 12 months, then what if they spend like $600 or $700
On a rent, yeah.
So at the top end, that's $8,400.
So just put in equals and then 8,000.
Yeah.
130.
And are they employed?
We don't know.
Because if they're employed, they can put 45 grand in and use their pay
Yeah.
to pay for everything, just like the rest of us do.
Yeah. Put that in their like emergency safe funding or something.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It would be nice if I could get a rent with utilities, everything except like dinner and things. Is that different than Bowling Green? Yeah. An apartment rent, everything we paid for in there. Does it include utilities?
Bentley looks kind of big.
I don't know where I'm living next year over in University Village. It's like I'll upfront fee of $300 for a lot of utilities like sewage and all that stuff,
Right.
all in one fee. But then I think it's electric. And I think it's electric and your cable and internet are separate. And that's our own thing. I think it's electric and internet are separate.
Is it electric heat?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, that's great.
I think heat and sewage and all that stuff. So just nice. But that's nice because if like the price increases for those, they don't charge already paid.
It's like, how rich is your
Alright, I know you guys probably don't have exact figures and all that kind of good stuff, but does anybody have what they feel is a decent plan for May and Joe when they're 45? Yeah,
We just kind of did it easier. We took the 45,000 and divided by 12, and that gave us what they were going to end up with for a month, which was about $37.50. And then you start breaking it down from there. You figure your health insurance are going to have to cover each other, so that's probably $500 a piece, so it's $1,000 a month. You're done with $27.50. You just start breaking it down from there. You figure food for the two of them. If they're smart, they're not eating out a lot. They're going to try and do more at home, so you're figuring a budget weekly, maybe 100, 150, depending on what they're doing. It starts adding up if you start going out. And then you start, kind of filling in your necessities. If you're figuring a car, they're not working, so that kind of gets to be a little bit rougher. So they could be anywhere low end. You could ballpark it at 400, 450. You could be as high as 600 on the high end. So we just kind of started going from there, and then we started looking out. And I think once we got some of the basics out of the way, we ended up down to about $1,200. That was left over for any other expenditures. Utilities, clothing, anything like that. So it ends up pretty quick.
Oh yeah, for sure. So the economical route almost, for sure. Anybody else have an input on that? Anybody else have a plan or at least an idea of a couple things? Yes, no. If not, it's okay. Alright. We broke down a couple scenarios ourselves, so
This is option one, the consumer's choice. House for rent, $780 a month. Yearly would be $9,360. May and Joe, they're gonna have 2 cars. One car they will purchase for $9,500. Second car they will purchase for $8,500. House full of furniture, $5,140, and insurance claim for a year is $7,000. Food and drinks for $3,592, and miscellaneous for $1,500, and left over after the year would be $408. And then there's what they can get. So that's option one. Option two,
Yikes.
they're gonna buy a house for $29,780, a car for $3,500, house full of furniture for $3,140, insurance plan for the full year of $7,000 again, food and drinks $2,592, and miscellaneous for $580, in order to end up in left. And then option three, the economical, they're gonna do a land contract for a house for $680 a month. That's $17,068. You're gonna purchase the hybrid for $8,500. House full of furniture for $1,140. Insurance claim for the year is $7,000. Food and drinks for $4,592. Miscellaneous for $4,500, and then they will have $1,700 left. What option would you guys choose?
first one. I mean, or does it go back to that idea of personal preference to where it doesn't really matter where you live or what you drive type of deal? Pick and choose what you want. Because I mean, personally, I could drive a rust bucket if I knew my house was a little better. I'd rather sleep in a better place than drive a Lexus or a Mercedes personally, but that's myself.
I mean, I would have chosen option two. You only live once.
Alright, this will be a little out of order, I realize, after this fact, but our final little thing was like other big ticket items. This really came down to, again, kind of two main options. You either buy it outright or you rent it. You know, these are things like furniture, large electronics, appliances. And oddly enough, you got places like Rent-A-Center where you can actually go and do most of these things all at one time. You can make payments on them monthly and rent them out. Or, you know, just buy them up outright and finance them. Some places like Best Buy will let you finance through them and make payments on interest and stuff like that. So,
You one more time. There we go. And then, what have you, as a consumer, purchased or rented that has affected society?
and how has your decision done that? Like, why has that decision done that? Because I know I can think of, especially like the lease the car thing. Like we brought up the 1 to 2 years. Granted, you get a newer car, it's a more updated, maybe it's better options in that. But are you underutilizing that product every time you do that? Because it's not getting its full extent of the wear. Maybe someone else doesn't want to lease that car because it's already been used. Maybe, I mean, I'm not a smoker, so maybe that person was a smoker, it's embedded in the seats. Now I don't want to lease that one because I'm gonna walk out smelling like an ashtray every time. So then it just sits on the lot and just goes to waste. Is that an impact on society versus buying it outright where the producer's going to be able to make the money and the profit off of it, but then again, if people are keeping their cars longer, how are they supposed to make more if there's not a need for it? So clearly, there are things that will affect society depending on these choices. You know, you come down to as well with the other options like home buying, same thing. That renter doesn't get to make as much money off consumers, but you know, where's I going? Versus buying a home where you own it, you get to control it, and it's gonna get its wear out.
And then it's all a cycle. I mean, if you buy a car, it can affect the government because like the government gives out incentives like cash for clunkers and stuff like that. And it will also affect sales for like the company, the factory, and stuff like that. The unemployment rate, because if you don't buy a car from a certain place and stuff like that, the unemployment rate will go down. And that will affect the private agencies for insurance and stuff like that, and private companies. And then you kind of ask yourself why, how did it affect you, who else did it affect when purchasing a house, car,